Hello, Charlie Sykes.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, but if I were in the proximity of the head of the Department of War, my friend
Department of
and
War.
yours, Pete Hegseth, Ivy grad, I might be the recipient of a fruit basket. Fruit
Fruit
basket
basket
stand,
stands and chairs and crab.
the
So,
DOD, but we call it the
cannot make
Department
this
of
up.
War,
Right.
went on a 93 billion, that's a B, not an M, because I thought 93 million,
Would be a
93
lot.
billion spending spree in 2025.
Oh, and that's just a down payment for the $500 billion we're going to add to the defense budget. Well, fortunately, though, Molly, the war in Iran wound down yesterday. Oh,
Oh
wait.
yeah.
Apparently, well,
It's only on when the markets are closed and off when the markets are open.
yeah, that seems to be the pattern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you actually watch what happened yesterday, so the markets are crashing. Donald Trump calls a CBS reporter and basically says, "Yeah, we pretty much mission accomplished. It's pretty much done." The markets, in their gullibility, go, "Okay, this means that he's tacoing out on the war." The all of the indexes spike, and then
The oil
later, what does he
and
do? He walks it
oil
back.
Right,
Never
and
mind.
oil prices go from $100 to $83 because people think it's over, and then he goes to speak to a bunch of GOP reps who are
Yeah.
pretty anxious and says, "Actually, we still have more war to go."
We have a lot more war to go. Actually, if people are confused about this, you are not alone because Trump managed to contradict himself over and over and over again. Sometimes in the same sentence, in the same
Yes.
in the same breath. We're mission accomplished. We're going to demand unconditional surrender, but wait, this is just a little excursion.
Yeah.
We've won so much, but we need to win more, and it goes on and on and on. But you know the line that really stuck with me, where he's talking about sinking the boats. And he
Yes.
said, and he claimed that he, in one of those Sir moments, he said, "Well, why can't we just capture the boats? Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be better?" And the Navy said, "No, no, sir. It's easier to sink the boats. It's more fun to sink the boats.
Yeah.
They like sinking the boat." And the crowd laughs. So there's
Yeah.
Donald Trump basically saying we could have captured those people, but it was more fun to sink the boats, presumably more fun to kill everybody on board. I mean, leave aside the fact that he may have just, confessed to a war
War
crime.
crime. Yeah.
I just think it is this performative, gleeful sadism that we're
Yeah.
getting from him and, Pete Fruitbasket Hegseth. The unseriousness of the whole thing.
What I think is meaningful is this idea that we are no longer pretending to be the good guys. So you have a situation where Republicans and the government writ large, our military, which is theoretically nonpartisan, are going into a country. With previous wars, we've had excuses that have at least
Right.
seemed like they were positive. We were
Right.
bringing democracy. We were saving a group of
Right.
people. This is not that.
Well, we don't know what this is because Donald Trump keeps changing his mind and keeps contradicting himself. Didn't he say yesterday that he went to war because he'd been advised by his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, by a
Yeah.
real estate mogul, Steve Witkoff, and by Pete Hegseth? Really, what could possibly go wrong? That's part of the problem. And of course, they didn't consult with Congress or
No.
make the case to the American people. But to your point about how we're not pretending to be the good guys anymore, this is what's so painful here. And by the way, there is a contrast between the professionalism of the military,
Yes, for
who are
sure.
probably wondering how far is this going to go,
Yeah.
and this clown show that we're getting above.
Yeah.
And I think that this is what's so confusing to people. I mean, is it? Could you clarify this for me? Because you have a higher pay grade. Is it now the official policy of the U.S. government that we can go and that we can kidnap or murder or assassinate the leader of any nation
Right.
state we choose without any judicial finding, without any declaration of war?
Yeah.
If Donald Trump doesn't like you, I mean, I understand that
Right.
we've gone after leaders before. I mean, we went after Muammar Gaddafi, right? We
Right.
went a sort of indirectly.
Right.
Nobody
Our
mourns Saddam
CIA
Hussein.
has done adventuring.
Right.
But
But
this is
remember,
different.
Gerald Ford basically
Right.
said it's the policy of the US government that we will not engage in the assassination of foreign leaders. And there's a prudential element to that, which is if
Mm.
we don't assassinate them, they won't try to assassinate us. But is basically now is assassination on the table the way that tariffs are for Donald Trump?
I'm
If you don't accede to my demands, we're going to kill you.
I'm gonna answer your question with another question. We do this exercise like think what if a Democrat did it? What if
Right.
another country had a president that started plucking leaders and jailing them? For example, like what we did with Venezuela, like what we're doing now with Iran. Like think of that. Think of
Well,
a
somebody like a Vladimir Putin, who basically will say, look, now Vladimir Putin has been assassinating people for some time. There's no question
right.
about it. However, he doesn't brag about it on social media. He
No.
does not have press conferences where he says how cool it is. But imagine if he said, I want to control the country of Georgia. And if they don't accede to our demands, I am going to kill the leader. And I'm going to kill the next leader as well. What if Vladimir Putin said that? What
Yeah.
if the Chinese
Yeah.
simply removed the president of Burma or
Yeah.
assassinated the president of Thailand if they have that.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where maybe we've gotten so used to America being the superpower, the only superpower, the policeman of the world, that it's like, wait, can you imagine any other country basically believing we can go in and bomb the shit out of you and we can kill your leaders, we can
Yeah.
target them, we can threaten to kill them because we don't like them? It actually is inconceivable, isn't it, Molly?
Yeah. No, and I mean, that is where we are at this moment. We are a country that is unfettered, ruled by an autocrat who is unfettered, but also being advised by people who don't necessarily have. I mean, what I think is the most interesting is when you hear Wickoff talk, it becomes very clear that he is neither smart nor trained at what he's
Right.
doing.
Or knowledgeable, right.
Right.
Yeah.
He keeps admitting to being rolled by Putin, and he keeps I mean, he just seems baffled by all of this, and it's funny because it's like Jared Kushner, who is, by the way, conflicted up the wazoo, right? Took
Right.
$2 billion from the Saudis, is just in a signal chat with MBS, like, who even knows what's going on there? Still seems a little bit more knowledgeable. I mean, he has ambitions, right? He's very religious. He has things he would
I
like
don't
to
know.
see happen in the
Yeah.
region, but I still think Witkoff seems more confused than Jared. And neither
Well,
of these
no, I
people have
mean,
been elected or confirmed by the
no.
Senate.
No, and I mean, Witkoff is both dumb and uninformed. Jared Kushner, though, is so conflicted and corrupt. And one of the reports is that the Saudis were leaning on him. They really wanted an attack on Iran. Well,
Yeah.
he's into the Saudis for, as you point out, billions of dollars. Is this why we've gone to war? Now, I want to put in the caveat that the world is a better place. I think if we have a denuclear Iran, if the
Right.
mullahs were no longer in charge. However, the confusion about all of this does make you wonder. And again, I look, I said this on a podcast yesterday. This actually makes me nauseous. The idea that we are saying, or that Marco Rubio was saying, that Israel was the one that forced our hand. This feels like some sort of weird anti-Semitic fever dream that we
Yeah.
went to war for Israel. If this turns south, this could have ramifications for a very, very long time. Anti-Semitism has been on the rise. It has become more toxic. And yet this particular dynamic, saying the United States actually went to war. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you would get, in the Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen fever swamps, right? It was
Yeah.
the Israelis made us do it. And what does Marco Rubio do? He comes out in public and he says it out
Uh,
loud.
as a Jew,
Yes, that's
I
bad.
was like, "This is not gonna be good for us guys."
It
Like,
is
and
not going to
I
be
was like,
good.
this is not good for the team." No, exactly, and I think it's really worrying, and also, like, we can look back at Bill Clinton, who had a similar experience with Israel, where he was sort of being goaded into war, and he said, "I'm the superpower, you're not." So, part of this is
Right, which is
also
the right answer.
right, and part of this is also Donald Trump not being skilled at what he's doing.
Well, and also the weird way that he's engaged about it, that
Right.
he's, goes golfing, he shows up at that dignified transfer wearing this stupid baseball cap,
Right.
and, I've given him credit in the past for having certain reptilian instincts, but the way they are describing this war, the optics of this war are just absolutely terrible. And by the way, on a much, much more serious note, the fact that the evidence is overwhelming that it was an American Tomahawk missile that killed all of those children, and that Donald Trump, in the face of all of that overwhelming evidence, continues to lie about it. Look, the
It,
fact that Donald Trump lies is not breaking news, but
right.
there's something really
I
dangerous,
want to
deadly, and tragic about that.
I want to talk about that because I think it's really important. But before we go to
Yeah,
that, I just want to add to what you said, which is George W. Bush, who I had very mixed feelings about, made a
yeah.
real point of not golfing during the war.
Well, also, every other president in American history who've sent men and women into harm's way have done so soberly and seriously.
Yeah.
There's a reason why honor has a role in the U.S. military. War is hell. It's always been hell. It's always
Right.
terrible. But this kind of the way this celebration, the unseriousness, the gamification of it, the putting out of the
Yes.
videos, it is the childishness with which they're approaching it that is so,
It's
I
disturbing.
won't say
But
well, beyond disturbing. Yeah.
yeah, but I want to get to this school because I think it's a really
Yeah.
important point. So, and we're gonna call out friend of both of ours, Sean McCreesh, who's a White House correspondent for the New York Times, who was on that
Mhm.
trip and asked a really smart question on the plane, and then asked a really smart follow up the next day. So on the plane, he said, "Do you have any information about the girls' school?"
Yeah.
And Trump said, "We didn't do it. It wasn't us." And then he pushed, and they said, but talk to Hegseth. Hegseth said, and you saw Hegseth knew we did it. You could see in his eyes, right? And was like playing the tape through and said, well, he said something to the effect of, we probably didn't do it or something like that. Follow through the next day. And Sean McCreesh said, and I think this was very well done. He said, you're the only person saying that America
Mhm.
didn't do it, didn't do these,
Because
and
we're
it's
the
a
only people who have the Tomahawk missiles. The Iranians do not have the Tomahawk missiles.
and he did the thing that they do in this administration, which I think is so important to remember, which is when they're lying, they don't actually just keep lying like Stephen Miller does. Trump, you can push him and he will admit he's lying. So in that exchange, he did in fact admit that he was lying. He said, we don't think we did it. And if we did do it, it was terrible. He does that thing that liars do where they sort of punt it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that because I think it was very effective, but it's also interesting to see that they don't necessarily keep going with the lie.
Donald Trump can keep going with the lie because he's proven his ability to do that and his
Right.
willingness to do that. I did think it was significant that Hegseth did not immediately back him up. I mean, there are these moments where the evidence of your eyes is so powerful. And by the way, let's connect the dots to when they lied about the shootings up in Minneapolis. Remember, they went all out, and then we got the video and the evidence. And at a certain point, and this is actually kind of reassuring, that reality catches up to the lies, and we're never sure
Mhm.
that we haven't crossed that line where reality will never catch up with the lie.
Mhm.
But in Minneapolis, the reality did catch up with the lie, and I think the same thing is happening with this atrocity involving the girls' school. And look, we all know that there is collateral damage in a war like this, which is again why it is so important to make sure that you are making good decisions and that you know what you are doing and why you are doing it. But in this particular case, I think the evidence has mounted, and once again, it's video evidence that
Right.
they're having a hard time refuting.
Yeah, and I wonder if we don't really know yet, or the reporting hasn't caught up to the reality, but I have to wonder what role AI played in planning these strikes.
Yeah.
Because I know from using AI search that I could see them telling you a girls' school was not a girls' school.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I
Right.
think that, circumstantially, we know that they used AI in Venezuela. We know that the Pentagon is obsessed with AI, which is why they're trying to beat the hell out of Anthropic. So this is a really interesting question. What are the consequences if it turned out was this a human error? Did a human being press that button? Did a human being target that school? Or did they turn it over to AI? Imagine the
Yeah.
fallout from that.
Yeah. And
AI
I mean,
AI's first atrocity.
and we'll probably know sooner rather than later what
I hope
happened
so.
there. Yeah.
I
Um,
hope we'll find out. I don't
let's
trust the administration to tell us.
I don't trust this administration to tell us either, but I do trust that, and we see this more and more as this goes on. I trust that that the leaking will only continue and get worse.
From your lips to God's ear,
You've seen
right?
the leaking go up. Yeah, go on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people who, like, at a certain point, you go, "I have nothing to lose here. I'm gonna be part of this. I'm probably gonna get dragged down anyway, so we might as well let people know what's going on." So we are seeing a lot of these stories, and, of course, this will enhance the Trump administration's paranoia and its desire to go after more people. The other storyline, which I'm kind of throwing in here, is that the administration vetoed the release of that Homeland Security memo that would warn American law enforcement about the possibility of terrorism. That was interesting that they covered that up
Yeah,
at the time, and we're about to find out, speaking of the leaking, the people who are still there, all of the people who have been purged from the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Department of Justice, who we would be relying on right now to counter the possibility of Iranian terrorism. The
yeah,
after action report, if it turns out that Kash Patel and Kristi Noem and others, fired many of the key people, gutted many of the protections. Imagine how that's going to look afterwards. I mean, remember after 9/11, we talked about the failure of the FBI and the CIA to talk to one another. That seems like a modest F up compared
yeah.
to what we are possibly experiencing right now.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. I mean, we are in deep here. And we're even seeing a federal government rehiring now because they're missing
Yeah.
people. I mean, one of the things when you look at Voice of America, which
Yeah.
is, just lost in court, Carrie Lake just
Yeah.
being told again that
Sad.
yeah, couldn't have happened to a bigger
Sad.
psycho.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then we see this reporting about Christine Nome squandering all this money, and then Hegseth too. What we see is they fire these people in the wrong way, so they have to pay them, and then a lot of times they have to rehire them or they need people to do those jobs. And so, like, they've cut the government by 9%, and now they have to rehire.
Well, and also, though, you have the question of what are the priorities and what is the leadership? We have Mark Wayne Mullen coming into the Department of Homeland Security. I want to keep reminding people that the Department of Homeland Security was specifically created to protect the homeland against future terror threats from outside. But under Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, the Department of Homeland Security has been focused internally against people who live in America. As the
Mhm.
Wall Street Journal reported over the weekend, they're targeting Americans. This is their priority. So you can hire all sorts of people, but if Donald Trump actually thinks that the enemy is within, then we're going to continue to degrade our capability to protect us from the enemy without.
Yeah. And that I think is where we are at this moment, which is in itself
So
pretty bleak. Charlie
bleak.
Sykes, will you come back?
Anytime, anytime.